Since the dawn of man, we've looked up at the stars and wondered. The night skies give cryptic answers, but still we ask and wonder. Curiosity has led us to many strange places. Sometimes we're rewarded by the curiosity, and sometimes we regret what we find lurking in the darkness. This is my journey, an attempt to bring lightness to dark places and understanding where there's been only mystery. Please join me as I traverse the night. Hello, and welcome to another episode of NightTripper, episode 5. This is my look at UFOs, or as the government is now calling them, unidentified anomalous phenomena, which is a little bit harder to say than unidentified flying objects. But I think the reason why they're making that broader term is that they are putting it's more than just spaceships. They're kind of putting all things that are unknown or unidentified into a grouping of, it could be natural, it could be man-made, it could be unknown or unidentified objects. It could be drones. It could be, gases or natural drones and things like that also. So they're kind of recategorizing it. The government has still been really stubborn or unwilling to admit that these UAPs could possibly be extraterrestrial. They are saying that basically we don't know what they are, is what a lot of the scientists, there has been studies, and I feel like the Pentagon has definitely been a lot more open about, that there is things that they are recording or seeing or getting reports on, but they still will not basically admit to what it could be or the possibility. Pentagon received hundreds of new UAP reports, but says no evidence of extraterrestrial activity, which to me is funny because what else could it be? I mean, some of these UAPs have been seen, flying near airplanes, hovering above, towns or cities or whatever, or above the ocean, filmed by, military aircrafts, and the speeds and the abilities that these crafts have is not anything that we have in our own technologies. So, them being, saying, well, it's not, we don't know what it is. It's not, we're not saying it's extraterrestrial. We're just saying we don't know what it is. But, what else could it be? I mean, it's not anything that we have the ability to make or produce. So I think it's a safe assumption, but I guess when it comes to science, they want to make sure that that they are not saying something that is not provable, I guess. So it says in total, 757 new reports of UAPs were received between May 23rd and June 24th, or 2024, and investigated by the Defense Department's All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. So they're definitely getting a lot of reports these days of those, and I think a lot of it has to do with, everyone has a camera, everyone has their cell phones, and are able to film some of these, or a lot of these different phenomena. Let's see, 49 cases during the reporting period were resolved during the reporting period as objects such as balloons, birds, and unmanned aerial systems. Another 243 were recommended for closure as of June, also resolved to be prosaic objects. I don't know what that means. An additional 444 cases lacked sufficient data for analysis and were placed in the active archive, where they can be re-examined if additional data becomes available. However, there were 21 cases that the report said merit further analysis due to anomalous characteristics and or behaviors. Still, the report says there's no evidence so far to substantiate life from another planet being involved in these sightings. So I think it's important to say to note that, they are saying, okay, quit yelling at us. We know that, we're acknowledging that these are unexplained phenomenon, but we're definitely not going to admit that these are from another planet. I've read some that some people have said, or maybe conjectured that they're from the ocean, so which is almost basically another world. That there has been sightings of UAP rising from the ocean, and I think that just my thought, but I mean that could be a safe place for extraterrestrial life, because I mean the ocean is just a huge uncharted area for extraterrestrial life if they really wanted to remain unseen, or where they could be somewhere that is undetected, definitely, because I mean if they can do what they can, if they can travel from other planets or systems, I mean being able to operate their machinery underwater would probably not be an issue for them. And I was looking at this other thing here about, let's see here, stop sharing, about, let's see here. Yes, so there was a analysis by a geographer, Medina, about he used the National UFO Reporting website and kind of triangulated the areas that were most reported on. And I think that that's kind of interesting to see, like, the areas that were like kind of hot zones for sightings. And I just wonder, like, what is it in these areas? We have a lot of desert areas, a lot of flatlands, California and Arizona and Oregon. And, I just wonder what is it that makes these areas so, I don't know, so rich with the reportings. So it says analysis of nearly 99,000 reported UAP sightings pinpointed U.S. counties with a particularly high number of reports per 10,000 people, a low number of reports, and an average number. One factor that appears to boost the number of UAP sightings is proximity to an airport or military installation, a hint that aircraft may account for many UAPs. So it is definitely possible that some of these reports are definitely, aircraft. I think it's. I mean, I'm not discounting it, but I just think it's silly that, if I was in my backyard and saw a plane fly by, that I'm going to report that to um, you know, to the UFO, the National UFO Reporting website. It just seems kind of silly to me, but I don't know. I can't speak. I just accidentally muted my mic. Um, but I think that there's a correlation, though. I think that there is some merit to UFOs being kind of connected to um, military bases. Uh, just a quick little thing. I was brought up in Lancaster, California, Lancaster, Palmdale, Mojave, where there's Edwards Air Force Base is out there, and at the time there was a lot of airplane construction plants like Lockheed and places like that worked in secrecy for the government to create experimental aircraft. So I think there was testing there and stuff. So I think that it's possible that some of the experimental aircraft that was seen maybe at night, because I know I had heard stories living in the area, you would hear stories about aircraft. My dad had said once that he would hear like airplanes at night and they would have like just a strange sound, not like normal jet propulsion. They had like a different type of sound, and were hard to see. He also said that there was rumors or people that had seen airplanes that had shot straight up instead of taking off at a like from a runway, like they would go straight up. And I it could be like those Harrier jets or something like that, but that wasn't really what he was saying or describing. So it could be that some of this is definitely like military aircraft that people just don't see or haven't seen before. I know that we had like the stealth fighters that the government had basically said no, they don't exist, we don't have that technology. And then a stealth fighter had crash landed, killing the pilot or pilots, and they had to admit because it was technology that we hadn't seen before. And so that proved that there was actually that kind of technology. But there's a rumor that we've reversed. We've what's the term where they have reverse engineered um, alien technology to aid in our own warcraft or scientific discoveries. So that's also something that's it's an interesting thing. But I think the UFO phenomenon or UAP is just so broad that it's hard to you would have to focus on different things. But it's almost like UFOs, it's like it's such a broad concept. Anything that's unknown or seemingly extraterrestrial is kind of labeled little green man or UFOs or you know Men in Black and all that. Skinwalker Ranch is also something that has become really popular of late. And I was kind of taking a look at that Skinwalker Ranch thing, and it seemed like it was kind of not a hoax, but like it was basically it's some property out in Utah that was reputed to be the site of paranormal and UFO related activities. It was claimed that there was a lot of sightings of strange phenomenon. There was cattle mutilation and orbs and animals with red piercing eyes and a lot of just strange phenomenon that went on out there. And it was kind of I don't know. It kind of seemed like it was a hoax because the guy that made those reports sold it. His name was Sherman. Sold it to a Robert Bigelow, who was the founder of the National Institute of Discovery and Science, and also stayed on. Sherman stayed on as a caretaker for the ranch, and kind of gave a lot of information or claims to Bigelow to kind of, maybe pique his interest. But I think while they were there, there was nothing really that occurred. There has been, reports. Says here, Keller and Knapp's book was read by Defense Intelligence Agency official James Lakatsky, who contacted Bigelow and obtained permission to visit the ranch. Lakatsky had a supernatural experience there, which Bigelow relayed to his friend Harry Reid. Reid and Ted Stevens, a UFO experiencer, quickly agreed that the ranch deserved attention and inserted a line into the Department of Defense budgeting appropriation $22 million to study unidentified phenomenon. So just this defense official seeing something, and I think I had heard something about it. It was like he was inside the farm, and there was like a man that showed up, or I'm trying to remember. I don't know if they show it or talk about it here. What he saw, but it was a strange story for sure. But I think once that the government started to truly investigate the area, they didn't really find anything. So they kind of made it seem like Sherman kind of talked Bigelow into, buying the ranch, and to make it, and to feed him the story that there was a lot going on there, a lot of paranormal stuff, when actually there wasn't really anything there or anything that really happened. And then they studied it for years, and apparently nothing really came about of that. So, I don't understand why people like try to trick other people. Maybe it's for, the fame or the money or whatever, the attention, but it just seems silly. But I think a lot of us want to believe that UFOs are real. I had an experience when I was young. I was living in Lancaster, and I was probably 17. And I remember we lived in like a 2-story condo, and my sister had said, and it was silly, but she's like, I saw Santa Claus last night. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I saw him like above the mountains. And I'm like, you're insane. You're crazy. And I don't know why she said it. She said it a few times, and I don't know if she was just being silly. But I remember one night I had stayed up all night, and was just about to go to bed. And I had looked out, and we had a beautiful view of like the Lancaster, the city skyline. And there was the mountains that were kind of off in the distance, and the sun was rising, and the light, I could see the light kind of slowly, getting brighter behind the mountains. And I looked, and I saw this object, and I thought it was an airplane at first. And I was looking, and I was like, it's not moving. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's flying towards me, but it wasn't. It was kind of hovering above the mountains, and it had lights around. It was kind of, I know it's cliche, but cigar shaped. And it was kind of cigar shaped, and the lights kind of made that shape. And then the lights kind of changed colors, like all in unison, like to white, to maybe gold, to maybe purple. And then all of a sudden the lights started to rotate around the shape. And I just was staring at it like, what is that? And then I remember as the light of the sun started to go up, it went behind the mountains. It kind of just gradually faded behind the mountains. And I was like, whoa. So that was probably my only experience. And I know now, like, that area is definitely rich with aircraft that is not, the classified aircraft. So I'm definitely not saying that it was UFO, but that's probably the only um, experience that I think that I've had with unidentified flying objects. I know my dad had said that he was a roofer, and he would have to work sometimes on these airplane hangars, and they would take him in and they would blindfold him and his team and of roofers. They would be blindfolded with, my dad was like, they had machine guns and stuff, and they would walk us up to um, the roof, and he'd say sometimes he could see, and I don't know if he was telling the truth, but he could kind of see through the fabric, or maybe before they put the hood on or blindfold or whatever, he could see like there was these aircraft that were draped and covered up with black cloth to hide from eyes, this aircraft. But I don't know. I mean, I believe in the reverse engineering. I think as amazing as the UAPs are, I think there's definitely the chance that they could crash, that they could, make a miscalculation, especially with the speeds and stuff that they're going in. So I think it's definitely a possibility that we have attained multiple aircraft. I just don't know if like we would ever have the ability to reverse engineer, like maybe we could find out, like, I don't know if we could find out how the things are made, but because I mean, there's got to be alloys and technology and things that are from other places that we wouldn't be able to, like metal and iron and things here are definitely going to be different in other planets. So I don't know if we would be able to replicate like the construction materials um, from other planets. So I don't know like how. I mean, I know it's possible, but I just don't see if that would be something that we could do. Maybe this, finding that technology would kind of teach us things about science, like how maybe they're using natural, elements to propel the ship. I don't know. I have no idea. Also gravity and things like that. I know Bob Lazar. I was a big fan of his. I was reading up on him about. So people that are not familiar with Bob Lazar, I just got him here on Wikipedia. Bob Lazar. Let's see. Where'd it go? Here we go. So his Wikipedia kind of goes into his history. And I really, really was convinced that this guy was the real deal. And reading reading up on him, it kind of disillusioned me a little bit. I thought that he was, because he had made claims of working for Area 51. So he said that he was part of a team that was entrusted in reverse engineering vehicles. He said that they had 3 vehicles, which I'm not sure, like I don't think he really said like how they came about the government having the 3 vehicles. He worked on one specifically. He called it the sport model. It was kind of like a small, he said that the craft was very small. You could go into it, but the seats and everything was all molded, almost like molded plastic. And that it was very minimal. Like there was not a lot of, technology or anything that could be seen. It was all kind of contained in inside of the ship. But he said it was powered by a nuclear type. Let's see, is it? Let me see what it says here. I-15, I think it was called. Yeah, it's an isotope element 115, or E115 was a stable isotope, but now they're saying scientists are saying that it is not a stable. But he was saying that that's what they used for their propulsion, and so the government was trying to replicate that in order to maybe learn how to use the aircraft. But it was a really interesting story. I urge people to check it out, because if he invented all of this, then that was a good one, man. You pulled a fast one on a lot of us, because I definitely wanted to believe, and I think that's something that's a real thing, and that we like to look at the stars and wonder what's out there. I just talked to my friend Nate about Star Wars, and it kind of opening my eyes to what might be out there, and just the unknown, and the hopes, and the dreams, and adventures that you could have in other worlds. And it's always been something, I think, with us, ever since um, John Carter of Mars. We've wanted to, and Flash Gordon, we've wanted to see other worlds and stuff. So I think that um, we want to believe that is real, and I think that there's proof, but there's not ironclad proof, not proof that people, indisputably will say this is real. This is, until the extraterrestrials come forward and say, we are among you. People will not believe it, and even then, there's AI and stuff now, so people may not even believe that either. Um, but I believe that at one point, or at some point, they will come forward, and maybe they've helped us before. Maybe they've helped us overcome things, or given us technology secretly to help us further ourselves, and evolve into something closer to them. That's just my belief. I believe that they are helpful, that they're scientists, that they're explorers, and that they have compassion for maybe a lesser evolved species like us, and that they want to share. That's my belief. I mean, I think that maybe they don't want to maybe sway us, or to move us in a direction that would mirror them. Maybe they want us to naturally evolve on our own. But I think little nudges, or little things to help us might be um, helpful to us as a species, move forward in the right direction. There is a report that was saying that maybe the all the different UAP that are in that were in the regions are kind of sharing, or they're monitoring is the term that they use, monitoring the military bases. So maybe they're kind of looking, or making sure that we're doing the right thing, or that our technologies are moving in the right direction. I don't know if they're worried about our self-destructive nature, and maybe that's something that if they need to step in, they would help us from not destroying ourselves. But I don't know. I would love to know that there's more out there. I believe it myself, but I would love for it to be you know um, a proven thing. I would love to have um, like have it be in history that on this day, a species from this planet, this far away, has made contact with us, and has given us more insight into nature, um, us as a species, history of the universe, and more understanding of science and how it works. Because obviously, these extraterrestrial species who have managed to create these vehicles that can change, propulsion and speed, um, instantly, and move in another direction, beyond the speed of sound, um, are definitely scientific in nature and thought. So I think they could really teach us a lot, um, and maybe better ourselves. Like, I feel like, not to get political, but that each country is racing, to for the best technology and all of the resources that it can, you know um, achieve, and I don't know if it's a competitive nature, but it just seems like the wrong way of thinking. And so maybe, um, this extraterrestrial, people can kind of show us that, that we're all, we're a race. We're not, specified by where we were born or whatever. So I don't know. I just think that it would be a momentous occasion, and I would love that to happen in my lifetime. So that's just my thought. So whenever I have these type of shows, I just want to talk about it a little bit. It's easier to talk to feed off of somebody else, but I just wanted to throw out some thoughts and ideas, and kind of get conversation going. So anyone watching the show that wants to talk UFOs, that have seen any, that have beliefs or thoughts, would definitely love to have you on the show for future episodes. I'm just riffing and talking out of my head, but I would definitely love to hear stories and thoughts. I'm all for unidentified flying objects or unidentified anomalous phenomena. I want to believe that they are something more than just, satellites and gases and things like that. Um, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that they're real? Do you think it's a hoax? Do you think it's all, drones and weather balloons and satellites in the sky? What are your thoughts? I had said once, I was driving, and I had told someone, I'm like, if I saw a flying saucer in the sky over there, I would drive towards it. And the person I was with, they were like, I would be driving the opposite direction. And I thought that was interesting. Like, there's some of us that want that mystery solved, and there's others that kind of, I don't know about embrace the fear, but they anything that's unknown causes a reaction, that is, fearful. And I'm different. I want to know what's there. I want to see it. I want to experience what it is, and um, embrace that truth. So that's just me. That's my thoughts. Um, but I look forward to talking to you more about UFOs. This is just the first kind of introductory episode about UFOs. This is a topic that has always been interesting to me. So I will definitely revisit. What I might do is focus on certain cases and kind of reveal the truth of what I've found on those cases. But I also would love, love, love to hear people's stories if they've seen anything. I do have one. I was living in California, and my ex-wife worked at a X-ray facility, and she had she was there early. She would go there sometimes at 6:30, 6 a.m., and start the machines, and start the coffee and get things ready. And there was a doctor that would come in, and this guy was a genius. He was a doctor of medicine, but he was also a rocket scientist, which is kind of cliched also. Um, and a famous musician. So this guy was legitimate, very smart guy. And my ex-wife was, she was in the building. It was just her, and this doctor comes in, and like he's like freaking out, like his mind has been blown. And she's like, "Doctor, are you okay?" And he goes, No, I'm not okay. And she goes, "Well, what's wrong?" And he goes, I don't even know how to say this, but I was outside of the building here. I was just thinking about the day, and I got out of my car, and I turn around and I look at the building, and right above the building, not directly, but like hovering maybe 100 feet above, is an unidentified flying object, like this ship, this silver spaceship is like hovering. And it, like, I think it just like blew his mind, in that it's kind of like when I talked about when you see a ghost, it kind of like it changes your perception, and it like there's like a hard reset in your brain where it's like, okay, I didn't believe in that, and now I have to. And so he said that he just sat there and just stared at it, and it was only there for a few seconds maybe, and then it just shot up into the sky. And he was just shaken. He didn't know how to process that in his head. So that always was, whoa. I was like, man, I want to see that. I want to go out there and I want to see it. I want to talk to him about it. I never did. I didn't really have access to this doctor, but I did check that day for news reports, and there was other people that had mentioned that there was an unidentified flying object in the sky in Fresno, California. That was probably 2015 or 16, I think. But anyways, I'll leave you with that. And I look forward to the next episode. And we'll see you guys again next time. Thank you very much.